Hello everyone, Lore Seeker here, and this is another one of my Lore After Hour Ramble videos. Right now on the channel I've got some scripts for some future videos ready. I've got a few more recorded that are just waiting for their editing to be completed before I put them live on the channel. So I figured right now, while I have an hour or so where I'm not really doing anything typically for the channel, I would just sit aside and gripe about something that's been bothering me for a while. And before I start, let me just say that, Magic is one of my favorite games. It's one of the few joys in my life. I always love to play it. I love reading the stories. And I love interacting with the player base, the community, it's just great. But Wizards of the Coast, the company behind it, and their overlords at Hasbro, in my opinion, are among the most incompetent, vile, deceitful people in the world of gaming. I think that most of the higher-ups at Wizards of the Coast are either incompetent or simply do not care too much about the health of the game. All of them very much clearly do not care about the lore of the game. It's been in some of the worst straits it's ever been in, and I think that's highlighted by some of the lies that the company has told over the years. And there's been a few, some worse than others, and I assure you, most of them do not have to do with the lore, but there is a lot, and it's, quite frankly, to me, staggering how often Wizards of the Coast straight up lies to the community. Or maybe not lie, but be intentionally deceitful. For example, a small example I have to give right quickly is, in the weeks leading up to War of the Spark, Mark Rosewater on his blog had said, we're never, it's very unlikely that we'd ever put more than 3 or 4 planeswalkers in a set. That would just be unrealistic. And then, just a few weeks later, we get War of the Spark, which had I want to say close to 30 planeswalkers, something like that, a huge number, more than 15. And, that wasn't him intentionally lying. It wasn't him lying to his readers, but it was a very deceptive thing to say, oh no, it's a very low chance we'd ever do this, and then the very next set is them doing that very thing. And there's a few other examples of things like that I'd want to talk about. So buckle up, because this is not necessarily a video about lore, but more about my gripes with the company. And immediately after I said that this is not something about lore, I'm going to gripe about lore. So first up is the one that really gets me the hardest. It is the entire debacle about and around Children of the Nameless. For those of you who don't know, Children of the Nameless is a Magic the Gathering novel written by Brandon Sanderson, and the initial agreement that Sanderson had with Wizards of the Coast was that he would write this story for free under the condition that Wizards of the Coast would release it for free. And initially they did. It was available for free on their website starting in 2018, very late 2018. I think it was December. But then not long after the story had gotten relatively popular, it was very well received. I liked it. It's part of what inspired me to make this channel. A few other people I know liked it. Some people who weren't that into the Magic story really enjoyed the book. And after it had kind of gotten the views it got, Wizards, in 2020, I think it was, they took it down. They took down the free download, leaving behind a page that said something along the lines of, it's no longer available, it's going to have a print novel soon. And that, not only does it go against the agreement that Wizards had with Brandon Sanderson, and I know he was very upset about this. I know he's griped about it before, but it's also just a strange thing to do. You had this free to download, free to read story that people enjoyed. It was one of the best stories Wizards had put out in some time. It's one of the highlights of the lore. And for whatever reason, maybe because you thought it was popular enough that you could get money by selling it in paper format, you took it down just to sell it to people? And they haven't, by the way. It's been 2 years now, at least, since they took it down, and it's still not actually available. For those who are curious, the PDFs are still out there. You can download it very easily. But the fact that Wizards took this agreement they had with Brandon Sanderson and reneged on it for most likely the petty desire to get just a few more dollars, to squeeze just a bit more cash out of the Vorthos community, is just really scummy. It's a really vile thing, and it really does not paint them as a competent or benevolent company one bit, and that just really soured my opinion of them when it happened, and I didn't grow to appreciate them a whole lot more after that, based on some of the other stuff they've done. Moving on, let's move on. Now, around the same time that Children of the Nameless was removed from the Wizards of the Coast website in mid-2020, June, I believe, Wizards had made one of the most controversial decisions that they, as a company, have ever made. And that was the banning of 7 cards for depicting racist or, culturally offensive themes, artwork, etc. in all formats. And these cards were then banned by the Rules Committee and basically everywhere but Old School 93-94, every sanctioned Wizards format. Whether or not you agree with Wizards' claim that these cards are inherently racist is irrelevant. Whether or not you agree with the reason they banned these cards, which was in response to the George Floyd riots and accusations of racism within their company by former employees at the time. All that's irrelevant. The motives and the excuses don't matter. What matters is, at the same time that this article went up where they explained, these cards, we believe that they are racist and we are therefore removing them from our database and from the game itself. They are no longer legal. You are evil if you play them, etc. They released a tweet saying something along the lines of, this is not an extensive or exhaustive list, and there will be more bans in the future. Kind of implying very heavily that, more card bans, more racist card bans were coming. And it's been 2 years now, and there has not been a peep at all of more cards being added to the racist ban list. Whether or not that is because WotC feels that it has safely sidestepped the accusations of racism with their initial ban list, or whether or not because they may have realized that banning a bunch of cards for no gameplay reasons was a bad choice, is up to you. Obviously, we don't have the reason for why they haven't banned more, but they haven't. It's been 2 years now. I think that's quite enough time for them to come to a decision on more cards being added to that list. So it's just another case of Wizards handling something, a promise they've made with the community of sorts, poorly. So next up we have, let's think, what do we have? Oh yeah, there's the Greenlight Fund. For those of you who don't know, back in 2020, early 2020, there was this content creator stimulus idea that Wizards of the Coast announced called the Greenlight Fund. And it was this massive project that Wizards promised the community where they were trying to get people to apply for this fund. And it was $1 million. It was a huge cash prize to anybody who wanted to make Magic the Gathering content. So people were asked to submit ideas for shows or projects, all kinds of crazy stuff, to get this Wizards of the Coast grant to make their dream content a reality. And it wasn't $1 million going to one winner. I think in the article it said that they were going to divvy up the money based on the needs of a select number of people who would have won a portion of it. So like smaller ideas would have gotten like a few $100s, and larger videos would have gotten a few thousand. But that's irrelevant, because just like the other two topics we've talked about, Children of the Nameless and the racist cards, it's been 2 years since the Greenlight Program Fund was announced. And 2 years later, we have heard nothing whatsoever about who received that cash payout, what the projects were, or how it was used. And I personally subscribe to the belief that that money vanished. It's gone. Wizards used it for something else. $1 million just up in kablooey. But if you or someone you know has received a cash grant from Wizards from this Greenlight Fund, I'm very curious to hear about it, because as far as I'm aware, there's been no news about this at all. There was a similar thing for Arena. It was a big competition, the Mr. Beast cash prize, and I think that was a similarly huge, like $500,000 or something. I don't remember the exact payout, but it was some huge number. And I also recall that has not had a winner announced, and it's been close to a year at least since that was officially announced, that competition, the contest for the Mr. Beast prize. So that's a lot of money to be held up, at least $1 million that Wizards has promised to potential content creators that they, at least publicly, have not paid out. I and several others are very curious as to where that money went. Moving on, is there anything else? Oh yeah, there's two more things that I recall. Though the big one was one that shook the entire Magic community back when it happened, and that was the reveal of the Walking Dead secret lair. Everybody was up in arms about this. Nobody was happy. It was very obviously Wizards just forcing this crossover product onto the players for a bit of cash. And the lie wasn't in the crossover thing. Yes, Wizards has stated, hey, we're never going to do crossover stuff before. I think Mark Rosewater has publicly said that on his blog, in fact, that, crossovers are just not something they want to do with the property. But that's irrelevant. Wizards has several references to things outside of the game. Several cards from the earliest chunks of the game are even references to other things, like Frankenstein's monster has a card. It's just going to happen. Crossovers exist. I'm not going to debate about that. The lie here is in the method with which these cards were handed to the players, the method in which they were advertised, and that is through the Secret Lair program. I and many others were very upset with Wizards of the Coast releasing crossover cards, exclusive new cards, only available through the Secret Lair product line. And when Secret Lairs were announced, Secret Lair, the product, when they were first announced, it was as this time-sensitive, time-limited product that was containing alternate arts that Wizards couldn't use for normal sets. Crazy, kooky, fun art that they couldn't put anywhere else. That's in the introduction article for the product line. And when the Walking Dead Secret Lair came out, it was very clearly not that. None of the Walking Dead cards are alternate arts of existing cards with Walking Dead altars on top of them. They're not like the Godzilla cards. These are brand new cards that were only available in the Secret Lair Walking Dead promo. So that's very obviously not what the Secret Lairs were told. We were told that the Secret Lairs were going to be. So shortly after the release of the Walking Dead Secret Lair, the announcement of it, I recall, and many others probably do, Blake Rasmussen, the PR guy for Wizards of the Coast, who is an absolute weasel of a man, he went on live stream to do damage control And the two things I remember from that live stream was that there was somebody else with him on the live stream who had this absolute fucking obsession with shoes. I am astounded by how many shoes this guy owned, but that's not important. The other thing I remember from that live stream is the audacity of Blake Rasmussen to sit there on live stream and tell the viewers, oh, people are just upset because they were under the impression that Secret Lairs were going to be this alternate art thing. And my response to that is, yeah, they were under that impression, Blake, because that's what you told them it was going to be. That is what you said it was going to be in the article announcing the Secret Lair product line. For you to sit there and try to gaslight your own players, your own customers, about what you're trying to sell them is insane to think about. Like, Blake should have lost his job that day for that kind of bullshit. Were I a manager and I saw him blatantly lying to the customers that day, I would have just been like, oh, you're done, buddy. You're gone. That kind of crap is unacceptable. You don't do that. You don't blatantly lie to the customer's face, especially when they're already upset at you for this kind of product. There were a lot of people upset about The Walking Dead, and you could have apologized. You could have said, well, due to some contract thing, we had to do it this way, or, there was nowhere else to put them, etc. But don't go there and lie and say, oh, well, it's unfortunate that you thought the Secret Lairs were alt arts only. I don't know how you got that idea in your head. That's insane to think about. That was crazy for him to do it. And then the last thing I wanted to gripe about is, it's a minor thing now. I don't really care about it too much, but I still hear it said often, especially on Twitter and other social media platforms. The ongoing, relatively common lie that members of the Commander Rules Committee are not Wizards of the Coast employees, and that Commander is a community format. Nobody really believes that anymore. Nobody buys into that idea that Commander is not controlled by Wizards of the Coast, and that the Rules Committee members aren't WotC employees. Proof of point, like Sheldon Mannery, the face of the Rules Committee, and I know I pronounced his name wrong there. I just know it. He works on Magic the Gathering products. He has his name on the production team for some Magic the Gathering products, and I know one or two others do as well. These guys are actual WotC employees pretending that they aren't. And they're pretending that Wizards doesn't have authority over Commander as a format, and that Commander is this big community controlled thing where the players get to kind of decide how things go, and that the rules committee is not controlled by WotC at all. And that's just such a weird lie to try and perpetrate these days, especially when, like, during the whole Walking Dead fiasco, where, like, the entire community on huge polls was just like, no, we hate the Walking Dead cards, don't try and force them into the format. And then despite the massive community outcry, the rules committee was just, no, they're legal because WotC said so. It was insane, and just quite sad to see them still try to go with the claim, no, we're not WotC employees, and other people. It was just weird to see that they continued with that kind of lie. I don't know why they continue to do it. Maybe it's like they think they'll seem more nice, I guess. I don't know. More noble if they try to put up this facade of not being WotC employees. But it's weird it's such a weird thing to make a lie that's so easily disproven, you know? It doesn't strike me as something that a normal human being does, just to lie so long about something that's just not true. But that's it. That's all I wanted to do. Just wanted to spend some time today to gripe about things that I wanted to gripe about. Sorry for boring you. Most of this was not about lore at all. It was just me wanting to ramble on like I typically do in these videos. Look forward to some of the stuff coming out on my channel. I think I have more comic reviews coming out today. I'm not entirely sure, but I hope you look forward to it. Have a good one. Thank you, and bye-bye.